Hailing from the Jersey Shore and raised as athletes, the Airey Bros have always shared a passion for physical culture, athletic performance, and human optimization, always striving to be the strongest versions of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Along the way, they've met some pretty amazing humans and have had some pretty epic adventures. The intention of Airey Bros Radio is to showcase these amazing people and the impact that they've had on them, and to share tips, tricks, and hacks so that you can win each day, every day.
You're listening to Airey Bros Radio. Be there or be square, because it's all killer, no filler.
In the end of the day, it comes down to, feeling at home and feeling where you welcome and where you want it. So we have roughly around 90 to 100 kids in the roster, and most likely all of those guys, they stick around. In the day and age that we're at right now, social media is really big. If you want to get a good recruit nowadays, you have to be on social media, being able to produce your own video. I like seeing my guys perform and beat people they're not supposed to be just because we're mentally prepared. We put a big emphasis on mental health and mental training in our program, creating change through wrestling, getting guys to get a college degree that come from places where they shouldn't be getting a college degree. I make sure that I keep that respect, but when it's wrestling, it's business, So NAIA, we get to bring 12 people to the national tournament. Well, we take 12 to conference and 12 to qualify. This is Omi Acosta, and you're listening to Airey Bros Radio.
Stoked to talk to you about Life University and the NAIA Wrestling and all that good stuff. Little background, coming from me when I was coming up, Life University was always known for their cross-country and track and field program. I'm an old head, I'm 45, and then just to see you guys come up in the last couple of years has been pretty awesome. I know Life is also a very well-known chiropractic school, so yeah, we'd like to talk to you about about your career and your coaching career, but also Life University and all it has to offer for wrestlers up and down the East Coast and all over the country.
Yeah, man, I would love to talk about it.
Awesome.
I am we're both JUCO All-Americans, Rich and Ron and me in wrestling. I was there a year before you got the JUCOs, but I think as an athlete, you're always thinking D1, right? You're always thinking those big schools, but there's a lot of life and a lot of opportunities, whether it be NAIA, whether it be club wrestling, whether it be D2. How do you, as a coach, when you're recruiting kids, try to make them see the big picture and not the D1 or stuff like that? How do you, as a coach, kind of narrow in on who you're going to recruit?
Everybody has the Division I dream. I had it, coming out JUCO, and it just comes down to having, the right fit. Division I is it's a whole different beast. You have to be, a great student athlete. You have to be on top of your academics, and you really don't have much of a social life, So for us, on my roster, we have guys that could have gone to Division I, but decide to go, the NAIA route for number one is a financial reason. When you go Division I, the scholarships that you could find there are pretty slim compared to what we have in the NAIA level. So that's number one. It's fun. You'll be able to afford it and be able to not, graduate college with a lot of debt. And that's one of the main things that we talk about when I'm recruiting a kid that's looking to go D1. And number two, we'll still compete against Division I competition. You get a chance to, for example, we wrestled UNC this year. It was a great duel. And we go to opens where you get to see those D1 guys anyways, and you get to, compete and, beat some of those guys or get beat up by one of those guys. But in the end of the day, it comes down to, feeling at home and feeling where you welcome and where you want it. You could accomplish any goals you want in any division that you want to go to. It could be from NAIA all the way to Division I. The goal is to, get a college degree, number one, and number two, compete at a high level. And you could do that from Division I all the way to JUCO NAIA. And another thing that I tell my guys is that Division I is a mentality, right? It's not a place. You still could be a tough wrestler that wins a lot in NAIA, and you could potentially move on to the next level if you have to. But in my opinion, there's division, out of the top 25 Division I schools, wrestling is wrestling overall. Like the small college wrestling could compete with us and we could compete with them. So that's kind of like my recruiting pitch when I talk to guys that are looking to go Division I.
We've talked to a couple different coaches, both at Division I and at Division II, and the common consensus is, for spectators, for fan base, they're trying to put that net kind of over their general vicinity of their state or within their region. Is that the same for you? And then also having some Florida roots, are you looking to tap into the Florida market as well?
Like I'm always recruiting from South Florida because I'm from South Florida, so we get a lot of guys from the Dade County area, South Florida. So I'm gonna continue to do that because so far that's what has brought success for us so far with my connections in Florida. Since we're in Georgia, it's pretty close. And what was the other question? Sorry.
Are you trying to recruit the kids, and also knowing that Georgia's kind of been on the come up lately at Fargo and stuff like that? Are you trying to put a net over those Georgia guys to get them there? Does that help with the spectators, with the fan base, to get people to come to home matches?
Oh yeah, 100%, man. If you look at our matches, we actually have a pretty good crowd in our events. The gym gets pretty packed and all that, so it's a pretty good experience to wrestle here at Live View. And yeah, man, we if you're a tough Georgia kid and you're in my radar, I'm trying to go after them, make sure they're staying in state. When Georgia guys stay in state, there's a lot of financial aid that's out to them. Like if you're a Georgia kid and you have a 3.0, you get 4 or 5 grand from from the federal government just for having a 3.0. So there's a lot of great opportunities for those Georgia guys to stay in state and not have to go anywhere else to wrestle.
And what's it like for you building a college program in the state of Georgia, knowing that there's not many that I know of? I'm sure you can tell me the ones that are out there, but I'm sure for you it's got to be a pretty big deal that you're one of the premier college teams in Georgia.
Yeah, so there's 3 other NAIA programs in the state of Georgia, and they're pretty tough. Trent McConnell, Bruin Parker, and Reinhardt, which is like 40 minutes from here. They got great coaches, and their great programs are up and coming as well. And then we also have Emmanuel College, which is a Division II team. That's also up and coming. So, the state of Georgia itself we have 5 collegiate wrestling programs. And, the cool thing about Georgia, there's a lot of wrestlers, like, I don't know if you guys know, there's like 7 classes here for high school wrestling, which is crazy. So, in the end of the day, that produces more state placers, more state champs and all that stuff. So there's a lot of guys that are looking for a home to continue. And, they stay home, they stay here in Georgia and they compete.
And talking about there being a lot of wrestlers in Georgia, I was looking at your guys' roster, and I stopped counting after a while, but there's a lot. How many guys do you have on your roster, and how many of those guys will finish the season?
So we have roughly around 90 to 100 kids in the roster, and most likely all of those guys, they stick around. Either they stick around to get a college degree, and a lot of those guys are also walk-ons too that, it's hard to tell a kid that's doing all the right things, tell him no. Especially if he has a great academic background and he just wants to be part of something special, and he's a Georgia resident, so that means that schools for them is really cheap. It's really hard for me to say no. So that's one of the main reasons why we have a big roster, is because we have a lot of guys with great GPAs that want to be part of something special, and it's hard to say no to that type of kid.
With a roster that large, what kind of facilities are you working with, and how do you manage practice with that many kids?
We have a pretty big gym, so it's called the upper gym. It's literally mats from wall to wall, so it's pretty big, and that's where we all fit.
And you're all in there at one time?
Yeah, sometimes we split practices. We have a morning practice depending on class schedule, so it kind of works out in a way where there's a lot of guys, like usually like the older guys that have class at 3 p.m. Usually we have a practice at 11 a.m. So that kind of like breaks down the numbers for practice.
And what are your practices looking like? Are you just having one a day, or are you having a couple a day where the guys are just going in for technique in one session and going live? What does that look like?
So basically we have open mats all day. So guys come in and get their one-on-one help, or come in and get a drill in. And then we have the official practice, which either at 3 or 11. And during those times, it's just come in, work on different types of techniques, wrestle live, and then go home. And that's what we usually do. And we also have a weight training 2 to 3 times a week, but that's with a separate weight training coach. So the guys are in there wrestling, and they're also getting lifts throughout the week.
And talking about the strength program and the strength and conditioning aspect of the program, is that something you and the other wrestling coaches are in coordination with the strength coach, or do you kind of leave that up to the strength coach and being in their kind of realm of expertise?
We work with him closely, but obviously he's the expert. He's the weight training coach. So he takes our advice. We tell him, hey, then, this time we need to go a little bit. We shouldn't go as hard right now. We have a big week. We have a busy week. So he tends to work with us on everything that we ask him for. And he was actually a weight training coach or a graduate assistant for Oklahoma State with John Smith. So Coach Tucky knows a lot about wrestling, and he knows how to make a specific wrestling workouts. So the things that we do in the weight room will translate, to the mat as well. So he does a great job doing that.
And having all those kids on the team, and I know you got a bunch of assistant coaches. What does your role as the head coach look like? We talked to some coaches, and they're talking about being the CEO of their program. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, man, definitely. Being the head college coach of a wrestling program, you definitely have to have that CEO mentality because in reality, you're running a small business. It comes down to, you obviously you got to recruit, you got to retain, you got to be able to fundraise, you got to be able to market yourself in the program in the best of your ability. Because if you don't do that, you're not gonna be able to get the recruits that you want, or you're not gonna be able to hit the target fundraising goals that you have. So I try to do a great job on social media. I noticed that in the day and age that we're at right now, social media is really big. If you want to get a good recruit nowadays, you have to be on social media, being able to produce your own videos. Like if you look at our social media, follow us on Life Wrestling, you can see that we produce our own videos, we make our own graphics, and we make sure that everybody that we're known, in the wrestling world as much as we can, because at the end of the day, that's all going to bring positive feedback and recruits down the road, and future sponsors and donors as well. So, being a CEO is definitely key to being a successful college coach.
And I'd have to imagine those singlets are pretty sharp recruiting tools in themselves.
Yeah. I mean, we try to get, every other year trying to come up with different styles and stuff, and we get things that pop. And then when you look at them, like, oh wow, that's really light lime green. Who is that? No, it's Life U. Okay, yeah, they know who we are. So
Yeah, they really stand out and catch your attention. And I don't think I've ever seen across the board, any division in college or in high school. I don't know if I've ever seen that color, maybe at like an open tournament in a freestyle singlet, but at the folk style level, it's pretty eye catching and unique in itself. Talking about that CEO mindset, the CEO life of coaching, outside of wrestling, hands-on technique, do you have a favorite aspect of that other areas of coaching, be it fundraising or any recruiting maybe?
I would say motivational speaking to my guys. I like seeing my guys perform and beat people they're not supposed to be just because we're mentally prepared. So I enjoy the preparation and getting my guys ready for big matches or for the national tournament. My guys, I tend to relax them, make sure they're okay, make sure they're good, and we put a big emphasis on mental health and mental training in our program. And as much as we practice with single leg takedowns and all that stuff, we visualize it as well and practice it, and that's one of my main things that I enjoy doing as a coach. And the second will be just creating change through wrestling, getting guys to get a college degree that come from places where they shouldn't be getting a college degree. Like for example, like myself, like where I'm from, not a lot of people get college degrees. Not a lot of people are doing what I'm doing right now, and I want to make sure that kids like me that went the JUCO route, that probably didn't have a lot of opportunity, getting that opportunity to get a degree, be part of something special, and compete for a degree and compete for national titles. And that's what kind of like drives me every day to make sure I'm a great coach and a great mentor, to make sure that the guys I'm getting in are getting the same experience that I had when I wrestled.
I think you hit it right on the head there, Coach, as far as how important, the mental aspect of life is in general. And, you're learning that on the wrestle mat, and you're learning how to turn the corner in certain situations, come back from a loss. So that's huge, being mentally tough. And the opportunities these, like you said, these kids get because of wrestling, and might not have finished college or even got to college if it wasn't for wrestling. Maybe they weren't an academic kid, but wrestling kind of kept them going. And I think that's the important thing, to have as many wrestling programs as possible, no matter what division, so kids get opportunities like that.
Yeah, 100%, man.
You're talking about that mindset, and I noticed you had pretty unique degree, I believe, from, it was Ohio University. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And is that where you're getting a lot of your mindset practices from, and what you learned there?
Yeah, so I got my bachelor's in criminal justice. So I went to school. I wanted to be a police officer for a long time, and then I got to college, and then I seen my coach Nick Mitchell, and I just felt that wrestling was kind of like my calling. I should stick to wrestling and not to police work. So that's when I started my college career. And then I ended up getting my master's through Ohio University in coaching education. And it was a great program. I learned quite a bit of how to be a coach, like the marketing, the business side of coaching. I learned a lot through that, through Ohio University. However, I got the most out of my recent master's that I got from here from Life University. Number one, it was free, so it's pretty awesome that I didn't have to pay for it. And number two, the things that I learned from it was just how to treat people, how to talk to people. The master's is in positive psychology with a concentration in coaching education. So I just learned a whole lot about how to treat people and see what makes people do the things they do and why. And that's one of the key things that have helped me kind of like unlock a lot of my wrestlers' potential, because I know how to motivate them and how to get the best out of each one of them as a single person, not as a whole. Because one kid you might be able to talk to him in a certain way, but if you talk to the other guy, that might not work for him. So you have to be able to figure out what buttons click and don't click on your wrestlers, and that's how you really unleash your full potential.
And were you going for your master's as you were coaching? What was that like?
Yeah, it was tough. A lot of reading. I read stuff all the time, so it was kind of like I had to do it anyway. So if I'm not reading a motivational book or something about great athletes or something, I wouldn't be doing anything. So it's kind of like the master was kind of like, I'm reading stuff anyway, and I just have to write about it. So I just went to class and did my work and graduated.
Were you doing study hall with the team?
Yeah, I was doing study hall. I was in class sometimes at a dual meet. I had to get excused. Yeah, it was tough.
Hey, when we're talking about all the different jobs, right? And getting your master's and helping yourself become a better coach. When you started down this path where you said you were going to be a coach, how different is it now, knowing what you do on a day-to-day basis, to what you kind of thought you were getting into? Like, did you just think you were going to be focusing on technique and all that, or did you know getting into it that there was way more than just what goes on the mat?
My college coaches, Paul Reedy and Nick Mitchell, kind of like, I used to hang out with them a lot, and I used to see what was the day in and day out. I knew that coaching was just not recruiting. It was not just, being in the office. It's not just practice. There's a lot more that goes into coaching. Recruiting in the beginning sucks. You know what I mean? A kid tells you, no, I don't want to go to your school, or, there's a lot of lumps and a lot of things you have to learn. And I was blessed that I had some great mentors. So anybody that wants to be a coach, you got to make sure you surround yourself with people that are doing what you want to do, and pick their brain and see how you can see yourself doing it. And the more positive influences that you have, and then the people that you could pick up the phone and call them, like, hey man, I'm struggling with this, can you help me? The better coach you're going to be, because they've been there, they've done it. It's not like they're rewriting the book. So I always have some great mentors I could call, even to this day. If I'm struggling with something, I'm gonna call one of my coaches and ask for advice. And it's always good to, when you're a head coach, it's good to be humble as well. Like, sometimes you are going to mess up, and it's okay. And you just got to pick up the phone and call one of your mentors.
Talking about picking up the phone, calling your mentors, have you gotten the opportunity to compete against them?
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that work? And is there like a switch that turns on and off when you're, getting down to the
like, obviously season is going on, and, I respect, my coach, at Grandview. And, if it's something that's kind of, that could wait, I usually pick up the phone and call somebody else from another program. Like, I could call, Kevin Bratland from Coast Guard Academy. I worked under him for a year. I asked him for advice before. Or Coach Millboy from, the old wrestling coach at Wartburg that won multiple, national titles. Sometimes I pick up the phone and I just call him like, hey man, I need some advice, and he puts me on track. And when it's something that doesn't really relate to wrestling much, I'll call Paul Reedy or Nick Mitchell at Grandview, and, I have a great relationship with them that's beyond wrestling. When it's wrestling, it's business. He wants to kick my ass, I want to kick his, you know what I mean? But when it's off wrestling, he's one of my best mentors I could ever have. He knows that. So I make sure that I keep that respect. But when it's wrestling, it's business,
Do you guys duel each other? Are you on the schedule? Are they on the schedule?
We're gonna duel for the first time since last year. National duels in Louisville, Kentucky. January, I believe 5th and 6th, I believe, or somewhere around there. It's a Thursday, Friday, I believe. It's gonna be good, but we have to make it to them. They have to make it to us. It's gonna be a great run. I'm excited for it.
And with stuff getting kind of back to normal, how was your guys' season last year? How was that affected? Did you guys still have your national tournament and stuff like that?
Yeah,
How different was it? And are you feeling back to normal now?
it was, like a lot of people talk, say that last year sucked. I mean, it sucked for everybody. I mean, it was a depressing year for a lot of people being locked up and all that stuff, man. I freaking did not like last year, but I'm blessed that God allowed us the opportunity to be able to compete and go out there. And it was, we just have to get our COVID test, wear mask, and we made it happen. I think the NAIA was probably the first division that said that we were having wrestling. And I'm pretty proud of that. We went, we competed, we had fun, and we came out on top, and we're trying to prepare to have a similar season this year.
Was it a abbreviated season as much as it was for like Division I and Division II, or did you guys have a fairly regular length of a season last year?
It was, in my opinion, it was normal. We just tournaments were smaller, dual meets were smaller, just because of the restriction with crowd. But everything else went that's normal. We just have to get tested all the time.
Yeah, so obviously that is a benefit of being in NAIA school, right? You guys had a way different season than they did D1, D2. With someone listening to this podcast that has no idea about NAIA, speak about the differences between that and Division One.
Obviously Division One, you're gonna get the top 25 teams are getting the cream of the crop. They're really tough teams, really good. But like I said before, after the top 20, top 30 Division One wrestling is wrestling, no matter the division. There could be D2, D3 JUCO guys that could be, a D1 guy that wrestles for a small Division One school. So wrestling is wrestling outside the top 30, and NAI has some great wrestling. D2 has some great wrestling. D3 has some great wrestling. Even club has some great wrestlers. So every division has their tough opponents, and I believe like if you get the cream of the crop of all of them and put them all together, it'll be a great tournament. It won't be a blowover like a lot of people think.
Is there any differences with like eligibility rules or your ability to wrestle more than one kid at the national tournament in a weight class? Isn't there stuff like that as well?
Yeah, so NAI, we get to bring 12 people to the national tournament. Well, we take 12 to conference and 12 could qualify. And I think that just creates more opportunity for guys. There's a lot of guys that just sit on the bench somewhere else, and they could want to wrestle Division 2 or Division 3. And if you don't make the top 10 or you don't make the lineup, you're not going. For NAIA, we get to pick what weight class we want to take. Like, for example, last year, we didn't take a 33-pounder to the national tournament or to the conference. But then we doubled up in a couple weight classes. We doubled up at 57 and a 97 and a 84. So, you get to pick and choose how you double up, and you get to make the lineup that makes your team the strongest. So that's one cool thing about NAIA, that it develops more opportunities for guys to go out there and wrestle. You don't have to sit behind somebody just because like NAIA, if you have 12 guys and you have two tough 41-pounders, those two tough 41-pounders could go to the conference and then go to nationals and possibly meet each other in the finals. No other division does, and I think they should definitely copy the NAIA model in that aspect, because it just brings more opportunity for more wrestlers to go out there and compete.
Yeah, that's interesting and awesome. So if you have, like you said, if you had two 141-pounders that met each other in the finals, would both of those athletes be scorers for the team competition?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. That is awesome.
Have you ever been a part of that or seen that? Has that ever been a thing?
Yeah, when I wrestled at Grandview, we have two good 33-pounders who both went to nationals every year. 1 year he All-American, the other year I won it. So it's pretty cool. And here I never had the experience to have two lively wrestlers meet in the finals. That's one of the goals that I want to have. I think 49 is a possible chance for us. We got two tough 49s, and that's a great thing to do. Imagine two lively guys in the finals, wrestling each other. That'll be a great thing. I think Grandview has had a couple in the past.
Well, I think that's even more incentive, because you said you didn't bring the 33-pounder, you brought, two other kids. So even if you're starting on a team, you still got to have a fire under your butt, because who knows, we might take two instead of take your spot. So that's very interesting.
100%.
How did that gentleman handle that?
Which one?
The 33-pounder that didn't get to go to conference.
Oh, I mean, it was tough, man. Quinn McGlamor, he's one of my favorite wrestlers. He's just, like he wasn't as consistent as we wanted him to be. When we look at, we talk about the 12 year life. How are you gonna why are you doing to become part of the 12? and you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent the way you live. You have to be consistent the way you eat, the way you think, and the way you perform. He was really hot and cold, so it was a tough situation to win back home, but he's working his ass off this season. So hopefully, we could get him to be part of the 12.
And getting back to being on the mat and talking about that aspect of things, you're getting kids that have been wrestling, their whole life, maybe kids that just started in high school. So you're getting a bunch of different techniques. As far as being a college coach, what is your philosophy on teaching techniques? Are you trying to teach them a system, or are you just trying to give them a little bit of stuff to kind of make themselves better, what they're already bringing to the table?
Yeah, so I'm not trying to change the way they wrestle. We're just trying to bring in tools that they could use to get better. That's what we do in our one-on-ones. We focus on things like, if this guy's good with underhooks, we're gonna work on underhooks and how to get an underhook and how to be successful with an underhook and what not to do when you have an underhook. So we work on little things like that, and then we have our general technique that I want everybody to at least be aware and know that we do, like elbow passes. If we're on top, I'm looking to get a wrist, or put the arm behind the back. Like, we have different series that we do as a team, but then we kind of cater to each individual style to make sure we strengthen them. I don't want to come in, and if this guy comes in and he's a great guy shooting low singles, I'm not gonna go in and change anything about that. I'm just gonna help him, like, with better setups to get it to his low single, rather than changing the way he wrestles, because I don't think that's beneficial for him.
Hey, Coach, you were a 133 pounder. You look like you're still pretty fit. Do you get in there and scrap a fair amount with the guys?
Yeah, all the time, man. It's kind of like
to keep you young.
It's part of the sport. Like, I cannot get away from it. Like, if I don't wrestle during the week, I'll go crazy. So I have to at least wrestle 2 to 3 times a week to maintain my mental health and everything. Like, I have to get in there and grind.
Right on. Respect.
And we were talking about this yesterday. We went to see UNC versus Oklahoma, and Oklahoma has like a smaller coaching staff. I don't think they have one guy that wrestled over 149 or 157. But that said, they still have to recruit heavyweights and stuff like that. Do you kind of gravitate towards wanting to get the best lightweights as you can, or as the head coach, you're kind of focused on the macro and the whole team? And do you have like bigger coaches maybe go talk to upper weights and stuff like that? How's that work?
I do most of the recruiting because I enjoy it. I like recruiting, or maybe I trick myself to think I love recruiting. I don't know, one of the two, but I like recruiting. It's fun, and it's just getting to know someone and getting them to buy into what you believe, and I enjoy it. But I have coaches from different weight classes, like my 2-time All-American, national runner-up, Dalton Bailey. He's the heavyweight coach, so he works out with all the big guys, and I have Quentin Haynes, who wrestled with me at Grandview. He wrestles 57s. And Cole Mannion, he's a smaller guy. He wrestles a small guy. So we have kind of like a coach for each couple weight classes to kind of like spread out. But I just, we just get guys that want to buy into the same thing. It doesn't matter if they're skinny or fat or big. It's just, as long as they fight, we like them.
And, getting back to your roots, you said you're from Dade. Florida, I think, when people think of Florida, usually they think of football, right? Mm-hmm. And especially in that area, what is it that people? Because we had Coach Bono on too, who's a Florida OG as well. Are there hotbeds in Florida for wrestling? Is it that Miami-Dade area, or are there other areas that have Florida wrestlers that people are sleeping on?
Florida's a big state, and it has some great wrestling. You could go down to Dade County. It's pretty tough. You go out to the Orlando area, you got Lake Gibson, Osceola. They're pretty tough. You go around Tampa, you got Tampa Jesuit, and et cetera. And, you go all the way up to Jacksonville, and you got, Fleming Island. So I think South Florida is pretty tough in wrestling. That's where my connections are from. But I like to get guys from all over the place, not just in one area. So, Florida is definitely under the radar, and it should, it's a good thing for me in the recruiting aspect of it, because not the big schools are in there, but there's a lot of Florida guys that end up going Division I, and Florida is just a great state, and yeah, we're behind football a little bit, but it's getting better year by year.
Are there any NAIA or Division II schools in Florida? Are there any colleges that have wrestling in Florida other than the club team at UCF?
Yeah, there's 3 NAIA schools, actually, and they're all in my conference. It's St. Thomas down in Miami Gardens, Kaiser in West Palm Beach, and Southeastern in Lakeland. So there's 3 Florida schools that have NAIA wrestling, which is pretty cool because wrestling has been dead in college in Florida for a while until these schools came back and kind of like, brought it back. And they're doing a great job down there.
Are they newer programs?
Yeah, like Southeastern, for example, is a newer program, and they're number 4 or so in the country. So they're doing a good job down there.
Okay. And then one last follow up with the Florida schools. If you could pick, or is there one Division I school that you think would be better suited to start a wrestling program?
I'm a University of Miami fan. I would like to see that, but I think logistically, I think the best school to add wrestling will possibly be University of Central Florida. They already have a wrestling tradition there, and they're not too deep down south in Florida. They're in the central area, so it'll be easy for them. And I think UCF might be going to the Big 12. I think in football or something like that. I think I've seen that somewhere, so that could be a no-brainer for them to join that conference, or any other ACC school in Florida. Maybe even the one Florida State. It'll be a great one too. So those will be any of those schools will be great schools to bring wrestling. They're big schools and they have big budgets. So I'm sure if they add the right person there, they'll be getting tough pretty quick.
Yeah. And talking about your roots in Florida and your roots as a wrestler, I believe you were a JUCO national champ and NAIA national champ. So obviously there's a lot of lessons there, right? A lot of wins. Maybe a hard loss. As looking back as a competitor, do you have a specific moment, whether it be a loss that you kind of turned a corner or a win that kind of sticks out that I don't want to say put you where you are today, but kind of kept you going and taught you a lot in that moment?
Yeah, I have 2 of those. Number 1, the guy that I beat in the national finals in JUCO, I lost to him 5 times before, and I beat him in the finals. It was a great match. I just got better after every match, and I just kept evolving and make sure I was outworking that guy every day as much as I could. So I make sure I did what I had to do. It was still one of my best matches I ever wrestled, in my opinion. I just didn't get scored on, and I scored, and then I won. It was pretty sweet. And then the next one will be my junior year at Grandview. I did not place at the national tournament. I thought just because I won JUCOs, I was the toughest, coolest guy in the world, and I wasn't doing the right things. I wasn't listening to my coaches. I was not buying in to what my coaches were saying. So obviously, I went to nationals, and I didn't place. I didn't reach my goals, and that was a pure. I had to look at myself in the mirror and see what I did wrong. And obviously, I wasn't doing the right things. I was not living the right lifestyle. And then after I made those changes, and I ended up winning again my senior year, and it was awesome to finish my career on top. And also good to see that, the great change that wrestling could bring up a human being. And I'm a firm believer in that.
So speaking of losing to the gentleman from JUCO's 5 times, was that 5 times that season?
No, I lost to him 2 times that season and 3 times the season before.
And then the year at Grandview, your first year there where you didn't place, do you feel that because you won JUCOs, you were just going out to not lose opposed to win, or was there a bunch of other stuff? Because I know when I placed in JUCOs that following year, I wasn't really concerned about winning matches. I was concerned about not losing matches.
That has to do with it, and it also has to do with I banged up my ankle a little bit, and I was not used to the winter in Iowa. I'm from Miami. There's a lot of things going on. That had to kind of like I didn't love wrestling anymore. I was just kind of like in a negative funk, and all that showed up in my wrestling. Wrestling is a sport that doesn't lie. When you step on the line, you get exposed to whatever you're doing in your lifestyle. If you're eating right, if you're hanging around the right people, all that stuff get exposed. So I get to the national tournament, everything caught up to me. I got exposed and I got my ass kicked, and it wasn't fun.
Well, you know what? It's one of those things where it sucked then, but you look back on it now and you see how much it did for you. And I think as a coach, that's something, right? That's the whole reason you're doing it, right? To have a kid have a tough loss or whatever, and next year he's a national champ.
Yeah, and I told and that's one thing about me. I'm a good. I like telling stories to my guys about people that I knew or things that I did, and I make sure that to tell my guys like, hey, I did that before, and that was not smart. I was an idiot, and this is why. And look where I am now. I have a college degree. I have the dream of my job, and it's all because of that loss, and I learned from it. And a lot of the times, God doesn't put things in your way for just to do it. There's a lot of lessons that could be learned in your losses and wins too. Like I won in JUCO, but was I really doing the right things when I won? Probably not. I needed that. I needed that loss my junior year to become a man and to realize that I have to do things the right way to be able to win and stay on top.
What it's all about, Coach.
Yeah. So did you ever embrace the winner in Iowa, or was it always kind of just, I need to get through this, I need to win my national title, and then I need to get back to some place where it's warm? And
once my coach used to tell me, like, oh, it snows here, it makes you tough. So I kind of like brainwashed myself that snow is awesome and it just makes me tough. And I lived in Iowa for 4 years after I graduated college. And after that, I lived 1 year in Connecticut. Then I came back to Iowa. And after Iowa, after going back to Graham, you ended up getting the job here at Life. And thank God it doesn't snow that much here in Atlanta. It's pretty warm right now. And I could see still leaves and stuff on trees. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, we get that too, because we're here in Denver and we're originally from New Jersey. So everyone just from the East Coast in Jersey always just thinks that Denver winters are far worse than New Jersey winters. And it's 65 degrees outside right now here in Denver, and where it's probably a lot colder and grayer in New Jersey. So we try to let them know that, the Denver winters are a little bit better. But yeah, it's interesting. We've talked to some coaches that, like Coach Bono, who's since his high school has spent most of his time in cold weather places in Brookings and Madison. And he says, well, I hate it, but it makes you tough. So I think he's kind of brainwashed himself like you did.
Oh yeah, you have to, man. You have to.
As far as, campus is in Atlanta, right? If any recruits are listening to this, is there anything you want to talk about Life University or the campus that people listen to this need to know?
Yeah, so we're located in a city called Marietta. It's right outside of Atlanta. Life University is a small college with big city opportunities. We're known for our chiropractic degrees and our health science degrees. That's what we're known for. We're a science-based institution. But we also have a couple other degrees like business and psychology. So we focus on those degrees, and that's what we offer. We don't go away from it. And we're a school that we like to compete, in the classroom and in competition. So if you want to be part of a great program and want to become a great man, this is a great place to be.
Coach, I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of professional wrestlers that live in Marietta, Georgia. Back in the day, WCW, that's where all the guys went. And Cody Rhodes, who's the CEO of AEW, he lives in Marietta. So
really?
I know Marietta because I'm a huge pro wrestling fan. So I thought that was funny.
You come down here, let me know, man. I'll show you around.
All right.
Getting back to the degree programs at Life, Coach, do you have guys that are coming in specifically as freshmen for the chiropractic program?
Yeah, we have about 20 or so guys on the team that's what they come here for. And sometimes a lot of them come here, they don't know what they want to do, and then they get brainwashed to being chiropractors. So, it's kind of like what the school is known for is we have a great chiropractic program. So if you come here, why not?
And do the teams, the athletic programs, do they get, chiropractic treatments and stuff as part of
it's part of your tuition. You get chiropractic, you get we even have, you get mental health nutrition, because we have a really good nutrition program as well. It's like top notch. So we get nutritional help, and when we're struggling, mentally, we have our own counselors on campus on staff. And chiropractic is free. I get adjusted all the time. It's awesome.
Nice.
Well, before you said that, I was going to say, if I was on a team, I'd find one of those 20 to adjust me before practice. That's not bad to have one of those guys in the room either.
Yeah, 100%.
Is there any rules in wrestling, college wrestling, that you would like to see change or evolve?
I will say just probably the edge. Right now it's a lot. It goes down to the referee's discretion calling stalling out of bounds. I think it just should be a point. I think that will make people stay in the circle more, rather than waiting for the referee. Because a lot of the times the referee when somebody steps out of bounds, he has to kind of like take into consideration what's going on, and he has to ding somebody. And sometimes it could be right, and sometimes it could be wrong. So why not just score a point when you step out of bounds? Besides that, I love folk style. I love how folk style is, and I think it's the greatest sport in the world.
Coach, is it stance in motion or stance end motion?
You're asking the wrong. My English is not the best. I was stance and motion, maybe.
Okay, that's usually the common consensus answer. It's stance
Okay.
and motion. So I guess I'm on the opposite end of that because I always thought it was stance in motion. Is it states or state?
In Florida, I think we go by states.
Right on.
So, Coach, when it's your wrestler's choice, right? Top, bottom, neutral, defer. What goes into your brain when you're picking? Are you worrying about the score? You want to get someone out right away? Are you deferring? What is your kind of philosophy?
I look at the guy, and if I see that the guy loses a little gas, we go down. And sometimes it has to be strategically. Like if we watch film on the guy and see what he's best at, we usually defer so that he doesn't get to go in his best position. But usually we go down right away and get out, when we're fresh.
Okay. Coach, if you're a sneaker guy, shoe head, do you have an all-time favorite wrestling shoe, and what are you wrestling in right now?
I will say Adidas Adi Stars, like the one that had holes on the bottom. That like sometimes you step on the mat and your socks will get all wet. That's what my favorite. And right now I'm wearing these. I just finished practice. Combat.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
We were at the match last night, and I noticed Coach Nickerson was yelling some stuff I thought was maybe to get into the other wrestler's head. Do you ever try to play mind games with the opponent that your guy is wrestling against?
Yeah, I'm probably notorious for that. I call it psychological warfare. Like I don't say nothing disrespectful or anything like that, but we just focus on our guys. Hey, look, that guy's tired. Look at him. So we just trying to like make our guys be more confident when they're on the mat, get them to relax. Like the other day, this past weekend, my 84-pounder, he was really confident on the mat. He winked at me, and he was like, "I got it, coach." I was like, "Hey, man, don't be winking at me. My girlfriend doesn't even wink at me. Don't do that." And then he just started laughing, and I just trying to do things to relax my guys to make sure it's okay. Because at the end of the day, wrestling is a freaking is as much as I love it, as tough it is. It's a freaking game. You got to be able to be relaxed and be able to have fun with it. Because if you're not, then what's the point? So I try to open up my guys and relax, make them smile, in between matches if they can, to make sure they're okay.
Yeah, it seems a lot has changed since when I was wrestling, but it definitely seems like there are a lot more people that are having fun with it, and really truly enjoy it and love it and are passionate about it. I have a thought that I think some of that has to do with guys aren't cutting as much weight maybe as they once did. Do you think that has something to do with it? And what is your philosophy with cutting weight?
Cutting weight, number one is, weight management. It comes with the sport. It's part of it. I remember when I wrestled, I had to cut quite a bit to get down to 33, but it's just, if you love it, you're going to do it. I didn't even look at as the weight management part as a bad thing. It was just more where I need to be the best that I could be. And everybody needs to have a personal conversation with their coach and go somewhere that they feel that it could be the best. Obviously, there's rules and things that you have to follow. Obviously, if it's something that's not healthy, I'll say no, obviously. But you just have to go where you feel best at and where you feel confident, where you feel good. I don't like getting my guys to cut too much weight because there's no point. And we talk a lot about, weight cutting versus weight management. Weight cutting is just kind of like when you're doing it all crazy and you yo-yo all the time. That's not really good for your body and for the long run. You want to make sure that when they graduate and they're out in the community, they could be successful and be healthy. We don't want to show them some bad habits and stuff like that. So we just talk about weight management. Why are you putting in your body? How what's that going to do to your body? Making sure they eat foods that are not as processed, making sure they're eating fruits and vegetables. And we make sure we stress that every day. And if you look at what we eat after we weigh in, we don't eat no junk food, none of that. We get them stuff that's going to create fast energy, things that are going to be healthy for them, and things that are not just food just to be food, just to fill them up. So I talk to my guys a lot about weight management and tell them to stay away from cutting weight, because in the end of the day, it's not going to make the sport fun if you're cutting 10 pounds before the day that you wrestle. That's not fun for anybody, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think that's huge, is the education on it. I think when I was coming up wrestling, it was just, lack of education or lack of coaches being educated on it. So the fact that you're talking to your wrestlers about it, I think that's everything, because not cutting too much weight could change someone's season. Coach, do you have a daily practice or a daily ritual?
I just usually, for example, like we had our open, Life You Open this Saturday. Mondays we come in and all of our coaches, we write down notes or watch film on what we're doing wrong as a team. And Monday and Tuesday we work on all the little things that we're doing wrong. Wednesdays usually when we wrestle like a lot of live in a lot of situations. Thursday we taper back a little bit. Friday hard drill, a little bit of live, and then we compete Saturday. So it kind of like depends on where we're at on the season, and we do a lot of sparring. Because you could still get tired, get that live feel by sparring and putting yourself in positions rather than going live all the time. A lot of times when you go live too much, that's when you get hurt a lot.
So that's a team. You personally, do you have any daily rituals, whether it be writing in a journal or meditation or a daily walk, anything like that you do to level yourself up?
Myself, every day I work out every morning. I go get my
Nice.
workout in, sit in the sauna, think about life, go home, shower, eat, and then go to my office. Nice. Every day.
Coach, are you a coffee drinker?
Yes, I love coffee.
How do you brew it? How do you take it?
The what?
How do you brew it and how do you take it?
I brew it on an Nespresso. That's a great machine. I love that thing. Then I like it with a lot of creamer, with a couple shots in it, and that's pretty much it.
Excellent.
Coach, what are you listening to right now? Music-wise, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything? I know you said you like to read.
Right now, at the moment, I'm not reading anything. I'm taking a little break from reading. And when I have a chance, I usually listen to, depends where I'm at. If I'm up before I'm about to wrestle or practice, I like some System of a Down, some Godsmack, something like that. And if it's a chill practice, then we play a little bit of reggae or some other type of music. It just depends on my mood. I usually control the music, so.
Excellent. Coach, last but certainly not least, this question used to have a lot more lighthearted feel to it. It was a lot funner before March of 2020. But if at any time when you're not coaching or studying, doing some psychology stuff, do you ever find yourself late night in a rabbit hole on YouTube? Do you believe in aliens? Have you ever had any Sasquatch experiences down in South Florida? Do you have a favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh, man. I really, not, probably like stuff growing up. I grew up in the Dominican Republic, and over there they always talk about
Chupacabra,
Korea and chupacabras and stuff like that. So I that's one thing that I think I could believe in it, because I don't know if when I was young, my grandma used to tell me that chupacabra was coming and witches, and it's you grew up with a lot of superstition. So I don't know if they're conspiracy theory, superstition, or they're real, but it really used to scare the living life out of me. So I kind of like always believed in, if there's good, there's bad. So that's kind of like my thing.
Right on. Respect. We appreciate your answer. You're maybe one of the first coaches that has a belief in cryptids. So we get down with that. We're from New Jersey. We're the Jersey Devil, and we've actually had a professor at University of Idaho who is a Bigfoot expert. So we get down with those as well. Yeah.
Yeah, man, and like the culture in the Dominican Republic, there's a lot of superstitions and things like that. Like there's something called a ciguapa. It's like a lady that hangs out on the road and her feet are backwards, and she attacks men at night. There's a lot of cool little things like that I could I could say I believe in it, because it's just it could be folklore or something, but it's something that you grew up listening to since you're a little kid. So it's pretty cool, my opinion.
Help you stay behaved too, probably, as a young guy.
Probably a lot of those stories are probably for people to stay behaved and do the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coach, thank you so much for your time today. Love talking to wrestling coaches. Love talking to wrestling coaches from smaller schools, because we're smaller school guys. Keep it up, and can't wait to see what you guys do this year.
Yeah, thank you. And if I'm ever around, I'm trying to get connections out in Colorado. I used to do a camp in Estes Park, every year with Steve Knight. So hopefully we get some Colorado listeners that are listening. I would love to go to Colorado. It's a great state anyway. So invite me to your practice room.
All right.
Excellent. Coach, it was an honor and a pleasure. Good luck with the rest of your season. And yeah, have a great week, and good luck with the upcoming tournaments and dual meets.
Thank you. You too.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one, Coach.
Take care, Coach.